After division of the Korean Peninsula, the rationale for alignment of urban planning and ideology by the North Korean state was clear. The construction of Pyongyang as a socialist utopia was designed to reinforce the Kim dynasty's cult of personality and Juche thought, evidenced through its city plans. However, it can be argued that Pyongyang is frequently cited as an example of politically or ideologically motivated urban planning only because this is so overt. It cannot be assumed that this is only a feature of communist or totalitarian states. Although Seoul's urban landscape is not as evidently ideological as Pyongyang's, by applying Martin Jones' theory of spatial selectivity of the state, whereby the state has a tendency to privilege certain places through accumulation strategies and hegemonic projects to fulfill particular functions, it can be argued that South Korea's developmental state utilised intentional urban planning, not only for economic reasons, but to advance its ideological aims. Residential development policy demonstrates that while the state increased housing stock, it also targeted improved living standards to form a developmentalist mindset in citizens, so they would support the sacrifices inherent in rapid economic development, such as poor labour rights, as well as participate in the formal economy. Rapid construction also encouraged acceptance of Park Chung-hee's political authority, obtained via military coup, as tangible development suggested that the authoritarian state was efficient. Development also sent a message, both domestically and further afield, that communism was not the optimal path for the Korean Peninsula. The development of specific areas such as Gangnam was prioritised, while construction was restricted north of the Han River. This intentional planning led to drastic urban growth in Gangnam, and the area became desirable, thus justifying state policy. However, there were also unintended consequences. For example, the opportunity to buy an apartment in Gangnam was granted by lottery. Although purchasers emerged as a new urban middle class, there was resentment amongst those who had missed out, particularly when property prices in Gangnam skyrocketed and inhabitants took advantage of property speculation. It was worse for those whose homes had been cleared for development. Despite being granted occupancy rights, they could not afford to move. This twofold expulsion of citizens by state policy formed a displaced class, contributing towards the emergence of polarisation in Korean society. "Someone was talking about this only a month ago," said Father. He had just finished reading the condemnation notice, which Mother had handed him. "Since the city has built apartments for us, there's nothing more to talk about." "They weren't built for us," Young-ho said. Spatial selectivity is not limited to an authoritarian context. Post-war British urban planning was influenced by utopian design, which manifested mainly in high-rise living. Urban planning cleared slums, but also had the ideological aim of shaping a happy and well-ordered community via an improved standard of living. This is illustrated in Scotland by the life cycle of the Red Road Flats in Glasgow, which initially represented futuristic development. However, societal expulsion appeared as estates became associated with deprivation. Although the socio-economic demographic of residents in Glasgow and Seoul is different, each example nonetheless exemplifies the unintended consequences of spatial selectivity in the construction of utopic environments. Red Road also represents a disconnect between state aims and private perception. It was planned that the flats would be demolished during the Commonwealth Games opening ceremony as a celebration of city rebirth, which rang hollow for those who had witnessed its decline. In this sense, the outward projection of policy shows similarities between Seoul, Glasgow, and even Pyongyang. Urban planning bears a legacy. Both Gangnam and Red Road were once utopic, politically motivated visions, which transformed into representations of urban polarisation. Today, how can we break that legacy and promote regeneration without gentrification? Perhaps the answer lies in Seoul. The more sympathetic redevelopment of the Seoul complex, involving different stakeholders, suggests that another alternative may be possible. From 30th floor windows at Red Road, he can see chuffs and samphires, dreadful trade. The schoolboy reading Lear has that scene made. A multi is a sonnet, stretched to ode, and some say that's no joke. The gentle load of souls in clouds, vertiginously stayed above the windy courts, is probed and weighed. Each monolith stands patient, ad and ode, and stalled lifts generating high-rise blues can be set loose. But stalled lives never budge. They linger, in the single ends that use their spirit to the bone, and when they trudge from close mouth to laundrette, their steady shoes carry a world that weighs us like a judge.